What up, investors? What up, traders? Ken here from the Dyslexic Investor, and I have a very interesting article I just recently read, and this is due to the grand investor, also known as Carl Icahn, and that's this gentleman right here in his beautiful yellow tie. This guy has been around the block for quite some time. He's been investing for many, many decades, has a lot of underneath his belt. He's kind of a wouldn't say a cowboy, but more of like a he goes by his own beat. He doesn't follow many trends. He just kind of has his opinions, and that's what he does. He doesn't really follow anything. He doesn't follow anyone. He just is a lone rider, and he just does very well for himself, which a lot of the majority bigger business billionaires within the stock market normally do. They kind of find their niche, and that's what they're good at. And he's very good at finding great opportunities in long and short opportunities. So he initially had a conversation with some folks at Forbes, and here's some key takeaways that he said. He says that the economy will not be turned on like a spigot. Again, that is basically saying that once COVID-19 or coronavirus is over, that things just won't magically just come back on due to this overall pandemic. And then looking at, again, he's been around the block for quite some time. Again, this is a very different time frame and different things. But he also said he's not buying stocks right now. Instead of hoarding cash, because he thinks the stock market is still overvalued, even from current evaluations. And we'll be jumping into the charts to take a look as well. And there's a couple of the holdings that he has. This is the time for investors to be extremely careful. This is his words that he told Bloomberg, saying, in the short term, you may have some big downdrafts. So in the short term, meaning in the next 6 to 12 months, you might have another potential sell-off. He said there will be good opportunities to buy stocks during the sell-off. However, Icahn's biggest right now short position is against the commercial real estate. Again, this is basically called the mall short, and I initially was writing a script and figuring things out about this, but he thinks basically malls are failing, and he is right, because malls are currently failing. And then you kind of go into the overall mall short. You can kind of see here is the Neiman Marcus, the JCPenney's, the movie theaters that we've talked about, the gyms that are these huge facilities that rent retail space. And I guess no one is able to go to the malls. Every mall is shut down. A lot of small businesses are struggling to pay the mortgages on it, to pay the rent on it. It's very trying times, even though with the government stepping in and helping a lot of small business loans and so forth. And then some of Icahn's biggest holdings, including industrials like an oil refiner, CVR Energy, and an auto parts maker, Tenco, both of which have been hit hard due to the pandemic. We'll look at both of those stocks as well with the S&P 500. Looking at the best mall short, it's going to be hard to find a stock simple that kind of falls into that. We can look at this particular CMBX. I've never heard of that before, but we can take a looky-loo once we jump over to the charts. But that being said, Carl Icahn is known for being an investor, but also he is a hell of a kitty of a trader. He's traded multiple times. I've read a lot of stories about him just during the previous last election in 2016. He went long futures after they were limit down in 2016, like $1 billion long, and then basically turn that into a double. Maybe I think I'm going to look up that article and make it a Wall Street Bets honorable mention on that trade that he made that evening into the President Trump being elected in 2016. He was making some crazy bets once it was limit down in the futures market, and it rebounded hard and made a lot of money off that. And that being said, he's always scalping, always trading. That is in his blood. He was basically saying that with the negative oil prices that he saw, again, you've probably seen this all over the internet, everywhere you look, is that barrel of oil is actually not zero, it actually got down to negative 40. And of course, Icahn saw that as a short-term buying opportunity, and basically didn't disclose exactly how much money he put into what he bought and what he did do around that thing, but once he said he got it rebounded and he was able to make a 50% profit in less than 3 days, just this week. Some of the other little backgrounds is basically he's worth about $14 billion, so that's a pretty substantial amount, and he's been doing this for quite some time, and I think he is a person to keep a close eye on. He's very upfront about things. He's not always the most telling of what you ask him. He doesn't really beat around the bush, and he's really strict and right to the point. And I like that humor and what he brings to the market. So if you've ever seen an interview with him, definitely check it out. Completely amazing. Always fun to watch. Super intelligent. And I think his Twitter handle is something so funny. I need to find it. 1 second. We'll be right back once I find his Twitter handle. All right, so here it is. Here's the thing: is like some people get rich studying artificial intelligence. Me, I make money studying natural stupidity, and that in its best is what Carl Icahn stands for. So let's go ahead and jump to the charts. So basically, to kind of sum up what Carl Icahn was saying in this bit, is basically saying he could see a downturn in the market due to a lot of things not being properly priced in, and a lot of things not fully fleshed out in the sense of being ready for a scenario that's never has happened in our lifetime. Alright, so we're jumping into the charts here, looking at the S&P 500. So as you can probably saw via the thumbnail on the video for this, he's showing that the S&P 500 will go lower. Again, he didn't give great details on if it's going to be going past the $218 that we previously had a low, but he just thinks there's going to be a market sell-off at some point. So currently looking where you are above the 50% retracement on the Fibonacci tree here, and then we also need to break above the 61.8 percentile move here from the swing high to low, of course, to get to all-time highs. I think people who are completely thinking of a V-shaped bottom, I think that's kind of out of the practice, because we would have had to move substantially higher and already have been past the 618 if you wanted a V-shaped bottom. This is turning more of like a U-ish, but the what Carl Icahn is thinking, it could be a W, or be basically from here, there, then here, and then back down, looking for a potential sell-off. So the philosophy that I have and the charts that I use is basically using a lot of the moving averages with a lot of different momentum indicators. As of right now, again, anything can happen. No one has a crystal ball. It looks like we're just going to be trading sideways for the time being, that is. Again, anything can happen, but if it breaks below this level, we have to look for support around the 21, which would be around the $273 level. And then from there, excuse me, would be lower to like the 38.2 retracement level, which is around 264-ish level, 265, just rounded up a little bit, level for support after that. Again, Icahn didn't give a number, but this could be substantially lower to what he could see of the overall market, and he said multiple times and indicated the tech sector of the market is overvalued, with the overall market being overvalued at 17 or 18 or whatever it is. I don't really look at those numbers very often, but he's saying it's just trading too high for the current value. Let's go ahead and peruse down here to a monthly chart. So this is a very interesting time here. This is the monthly chart, so you can kind of see here how low we did get. Again, this is the 08-09 crash over here. and this is just a little, let me get rid of these lines, a little bit that we had here. So there's a lot of people's thesis is we are basically right, oh, I did that terrible. We are right here where we are right now. We kind of came back down, hit the 21. Once we hit this 21, hasta la vista baby, and we're going all the way down, even more in the next coming months to a year. Again, anything can happen. You got to get ready for it. I don't like to, I'm more optimistic than a lot of other people and traders. But that being said, you got to be ready for everything. So just be mindful. Again, anything can happen, and just be careful out there. As you looked at my previous video, don't put in 50% of your net worth into USO or oil stocks that you think the bottom is in place, but you don't quite understand what the hell's going on. Okay, that was a little bit there. So we're going to be looking at some of his holdings. So he, one of his bigger holding is CVR Energy. This is an oil refinery. Of course, just the word oil is not a really good place right now. And this thing has just been, again, looks a lot like USO, just a downtrend well below its 200-day moving average. I wouldn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, but that's just me. The monthly chart looks terrible as well, looking at basically some of the lows that it was trading with in the 11 and 12 era. This is I wouldn't put my money into this. Again, Carl Icahn might know something more than I do. He might be holding it for some other reasons. And then the next one he is looking at was the Tenco, I think it was, like, yeah, it's TEN. Don't know much about this as well. This is also an auto manufacturer, parts. This has also looked terrible and really badly beaten up. Like, this has been from $70 just in 2017 all the way down to $3. Again, he might know something I don't know. He might have people on the board, might have understanding better talking to the experts within this business. Looking at the strict chart, I wouldn't want to touch this. Again, it's well below 200. There's not much movement here for me with understanding of this market. Let me just double check to make sure I checked all my bases here on anything that looked at. Oh, I wanted to look at this, the CMBX. I don't think that is a stock. There's a CMBX. Yeah, I don't think it's yeah, it must be something else. But we could look at, it's not the this is the S&P 500 RTX, is basically the spider ETF that does retail. And again, you can kind of see here the high of 46 here. That was basically 2 days after Christmas. What we're going to do here is just draw some quick fibs to kind of give you some better understanding. We have not closed above the 50% retracement on this as well. It is moving up with the overall market, but it's still lagging a little bit here. And I didn't snap onto the top here again. There we go. So again, it's not above the 50% retracement. The moving averages are trying to be pushing up higher. We can look here on, let me do this, the daily, bring this to the weekly here. On the weekly chart, you can kind of see here, this kind of looks disastrous, basically hitting a super low here in the last 3 or 4 years and trying to bounce around here. Again, this is just an ETF that tracks multiple retail places, so we can actually look that up on exactly what they follow. Let me pull up a website that. Alright, so let's go here. So this is basically the ETF retail. So this is basically all the assets. A lot of it is like an online, like a Chewy is the dog stuff. Amazon, we all know what that is. Wayfair. And this is a lot of stores as well as a mix of other things like Tractor Supply. Like, it's not a very well mall-based ETF. I don't have the knowledge within the mall section, so we can go look at. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone has a comment down below on a particular mall. I know there's some REITs that do mall-based stuff. You would need to look into this more. I will have some stuff ready for the live stream that's coming up. But that being said, I wouldn't want to be putting any money into that due to the fact of we still haven't seen the full-on effect of how long this is going to be going on and how the businesses within the mall section, and once it is somewhat okay for people to go back and come out of their houses, that we'll see what the overall markets are saying. Since we're still in earnings season, there's still a lot of unknowns. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.